Rain drummed on the windshield as Kevin Young pulled his battered pickup truck into the supermarket parking lot, mentally calculating how much he could afford to spend on groceries this week. At 34, with sole custody of his 8-year-old daughter Lily, every penny mattered. The construction job that had sustained them for the past 3 years had slowed to a trickle of hours, leaving their financial situation more precarious than usual. "Remember, Lil, we're sticking to the list today," Kevin said, glancing in the rearview mirror at his daughter, who was absorbed in her worn paperback. Lily looked up, her green eyes just like her mother's meeting his. "I know, Dad, no extras." She spoke with the resigned wisdom of a child who'd grown used to budget constraints too early in life. Kevin's heart squeezed. She deserved better than this constant struggle. Since Megan had walked out on them when Lily was just 4, claiming she wasn't cut out for motherhood, it had been just the two of them against the world. His daughter had never complained, not even when he'd had to explain why they couldn't afford the school trip to the Science Museum last month. "Maybe we can get one small treat if we find a good deal," he said, unable to resist the smile that bloomed on her face. Inside the store, they navigated the aisles methodically, Kevin comparing prices and choosing store brands while Lily dutifully checked items off their list. They were in the cereal aisle when Kevin first noticed the woman. She stood before the display of expensive granola, shoulders hunched, repeatedly glancing over her shoulder toward the store entrance. She wore designer clothing Kevin could tell even with his limited knowledge of fashion, but something seemed off. A faint bruise colored her left cheekbone, partially concealed with makeup. Her dark hair was pulled back in a hasty ponytail, and despite the quality of her clothes, she carried herself like someone trying to disappear. Kevin might have minded his own business if not for what happened next. A tall man in an expensive suit stalked into the store, his face a mask of cold fury. The woman froze, shrinking against the shelves as if trying to melt into them. "Lily," Kevin said quietly, "can you go pick out which apples look best, the ones on our list?" His daughter looked between him and the woman, her perceptive eyes missing nothing. "Okay, Dad," she said, moving away but throwing one last concerned glance over her shoulder. The man spotted the woman and strode toward her, grabbing her arm roughly. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Tara? I've been calling you for hours." "Richard, please," the woman Tara said, her voice barely audible. "You're hurting me." "You embarrassed me in front of everyone at the club," the man hissed. "Now you're coming home." Kevin had seen enough. He'd grown up watching his father treat his mother the same way, something he'd sworn never to repeat or tolerate. Before he could second-guess himself, he stepped forward. "Everything okay here?" he asked, keeping his voice casual but positioning himself between the woman and the exit. The suited man Richard turned to him with a look of disdain. "Mind your own business. This is between me and my fiancé." Kevin noticed Tara flinch at the word fiancé, her eyes flicking to a bare ring finger. "Madam," Kevin addressed her directly, "are you okay?" A moment of silence stretched between them, heavy with implication. Then Tara straightened slightly, something resolute flashing in her eyes. "No," she said, "I'm not okay." Richard's grip tightened. "Stop making a scene, Tara, we're leaving." "I think the lady wants to stay," Kevin said, all pretense of casualness gone. Richard looked Kevin up and down, taking in his worn work boots, faded jeans, and the calloused hands of a construction worker. He sneered. "Do you have any idea who I am?" "Someone who's about 10 seconds away from having the police called on him," Kevin replied evenly. A small crowd had begun to gather. A store employee hovered nearby, hand on her phone. Richard seemed to register the audience and the potential repercussions. With a final glare at Tara, he released her arm. "This isn't over," he said to her. "You know what's at stake." With that, he turned and stormed out of the store. Tara rubbed her arm where angry red marks were already forming. "Thank you," she said softly. "Are you safe to go home?" Kevin asked. She shook her head, eyes filling with tears. "That's complicated. He has access to everywhere I could go." Kevin hesitated. In the distance, he could see Lily watching them anxiously from the produce section. "Look, I don't know your situation, but if you need a place to lay low for a bit, we could help." He gestured toward Lily. "My daughter and I," Nothing weird, I promise. Just a couch and some breathing room until you figure things out. Tara studied him for a long moment. Why would you help a complete stranger? Kevin shrugged. Because someone should have helped my mom when I was a kid. Something in her expression softened. I'm Tara, she said. Tara Owens, Kevin Young, he replied. And that's my daughter, Lily. Tara looked at the little girl who was pretending not to watch them. I don't want to impose on your family. It's just the two of us, Kevin said, and it wouldn't be an imposition, but it's your call. Tara glanced toward the door where Richard had disappeared. Okay, she said finally. Just for tonight. Thank you. Kevin nodded, trying to ignore the voice in his head questioning the wisdom of inviting a stranger, especially one with obvious complicated problems, into their home. But something about her vulnerability combined with the flashes of determination he'd seen made him want to help. Lily approached cautiously, a bag of carefully selected apples in hand. Did you find everything, Dad? We did, Kevin said, and we've invited someone to have dinner with us. This is Tara. She's having a rough day and could use some friendly company. Lily, ever perceptive, looked between the adults. Is she hiding from the angry man? Tara's eyes widened, but Kevin just nodded. Something like that. Is that okay with you? Lily considered this seriously before nodding. We have plenty of spaghetti, she said to Tara. Dad makes the best sauce. A small, genuine smile crossed Tara's face. I'd love to try it. The ride to their small rental house was quiet. Kevin couldn't help noticing that Tara kept checking her phone, her expression growing increasingly worried. When they arrived, he saw her taking in their modest home the peeling paint on the porch, the second-hand furniture visible through the windows. It's not much, he said, suddenly self-conscious, but it's home. It's lovely, she replied, and something in her voice made him believe she meant it. Inside, Lily immediately took charge, showing Tara where to put her purse and offering her a tour that took approximately 45 seconds to complete. Kevin headed to the kitchen to start dinner, listening to his daughter's cheerful chatter as she showed their unexpected guest her bookshelf and stuffed animal collection. As he chopped onions and browned ground beef for the sauce, Kevin wondered what he'd gotten them into. Tara clearly came from money, serious money, based on her clothes and the way that Richard Guy had carried himself. This wasn't just a domestic dispute. There were power dynamics at play he couldn't begin to understand. Can I help with anything? Tara appeared in the kitchen doorway, having apparently concluded Lily's tour. You're the guest, Kevin started to say, but she shook her head. Please, I'd like to feel useful. He gestured to the cutting board. You could chop the peppers if you want. She rolled up her sleeves and washed her hands, then took the knife with surprising confidence. I wasn't always. She paused. I mean, I know my way around a kitchen. Kevin raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Lily, homework time while we cook, he called. His daughter trudged to the small kitchen table, pulling out her math workbook with a dramatic sigh that made Tara smile. I was never good at math, Tara confessed to the girl. Lily brightened. Really? But you're a grown-up. Grown-ups are good at everything. Tara laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. Definitely not true. I was terrible at fractions, still am. Dad's good at math, Lily said. He helps me with the hard problems. I bet he's good at lots of things, Tara said, her eyes meeting Kevin's briefly before returning to the peppers. They worked side by side, falling into an easy rhythm that surprised Kevin. For someone who looked like she belonged in a magazine, Tara seemed comfortable in his small, outdated kitchen. She helped Lily with a tricky spelling question while Kevin finished the sauce, and by the time dinner was ready, the initial awkwardness had largely dissipated. Over spaghetti, Lily dominated the conversation with stories about school and her best friend Emma's new puppy. Kevin was grateful. It kept them from addressing the elephant in the room. But after Lily had been sent to take her bath, the atmosphere grew heavier. I should call a hotel, Tara said, staring into her empty wineglass. They'd opened an inexpensive bottle Kevin had been saving for a special occasion. You're welcome to stay, Kevin replied. The couch pulls out, not the most comfortable, but it's not that. Tara's voice was tight. Richard, he has resources, he'll be looking for me. And you don't want to lead him here, Kevin finished for her. I understand, Tara twisted her hands together. He's not always like that, what you saw today. Kevin had heard that before from his mother defending his father. He kept his expression neutral. You don't have to explain. I do, though. She met his eyes directly. Because you've been kind and you deserve to know what you're potentially getting involved in. She took a deep breath. Richard Harrington is one of the most powerful real estate developers on the West Coast. We've been together for 2 years. At first, he was charming, generous, everything I thought I wanted. But once I moved in with him 6 months ago, things changed. He became controlling, jealous. Today wasn't the first time he's grabbed me like that, but it was the first time in public. Kevin listened, feeling a slow burn of anger toward a man he'd only met for minutes. No one deserves to be treated that way, no matter how rich or powerful the other person is. I know that. Intellectually, I know that. Tara's eyes filled with tears. But he's made it clear that if I leave him, he'll destroy me professionally, and he could do it too. What do you do? Kevin asked, realizing he hadn't even thought to ask before. A strange expression crossed her face. I'm in business, corporate consulting. Something about her answer felt evasive, but Kevin didn't push, and he has influence in your field. You could say that. She gave a humorless laugh. The problem is, I've built my career from nothing, the thought of losing everything I've worked for. But at what cost? Kevin asked gently. Tara's phone buzzed for what seemed like the 100th time that evening. She glanced at it and paled. He's threatening to report his car stolen. I drove it to the grocery store today. Kevin frowned. Is it in your name at all? No. She ran a hand through her hair. God, what was I thinking? I just wanted to get away for a while, clear my head. I never planned to actually leave him. Until he showed his true colors in public, Kevin finished. She nodded. Now I don't know what to do. If he reports it stolen, the police will get involved. Then we should return the car, Kevin said simply. Tonight, where is it parked? At the grocery store still, but he'll be watching it. Kevin considered this. Maybe. But it's also possible he's checking hotels and your friends' places first. We could try. Tara looked surprised. I'm not letting you face him alone again, Kevin said firmly. Lily can stay with our neighbor Mrs. Patel for an hour. She watches her sometimes when I have evening work. Tara looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite interpret. Why are you doing all this for me? Kevin hesitated, then decided on honesty. Because 25 years ago, my mom tried to leave my dad. He found us at a bus station, made a scene, and not one person stepped in to help. We went home with him that night, and she spent the next week in the hospital. He met her eyes. I promised myself I'd never be one of the people who looked away. Tara reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Thank you, she whispered. An hour later, after dropping Lily off with their elderly neighbor, they drove back to the supermarket in Kevin's truck. The parking lot was nearly empty now, but Richard's gleaming BMW sat exactly where Tara had left it. No one appeared to be watching it. I'll drive it back to his place and leave the keys with the doorman, Tara said. Then I'll call a rideshare to pick me up. Kevin shook his head. I'll follow you there. Make sure you get away clean. Tara looked like she wanted to argue but then nodded. It's in Pacific Heights. About 20 minutes from here, Kevin whistled. Fancy neighborhood. It never felt like home, she said quietly. They drove in a 2-car convoy through the nighttime city streets, Tara leading the way in the luxury vehicle, Kevin following in his battered pickup. When they reached a towering glass and steel high-rise, Tara pulled into the circular driveway and stepped out. Kevin parked across the street, watching as she handed the keys to a uniformed doorman and said something that made him nod. She walked briskly back to Kevin's truck and climbed in, her face tight with tension. Let's go before he comes down. Kevin pulled away from the curb, hyper-aware of the woman beside him. In the confines of his truck, her expensive perfume filled the space, a jarring contrast to the vehicle's worn interior. Hotel now, she bit her lip. Would it be too much to ask to stay with you tonight after all? I promise I'll figure something out tomorrow. The offer still stands, Kevin assured her. No strings attached. Tara leaned back against the seat, closing her eyes briefly. You know, when Richard saw you today, a construction worker in your work clothes, he dismissed you instantly. He thought you were beneath him, beneath notice. Kevin shrugged. I'm used to it. That's the thing, though, Tara said, turning to look at him. In 5 minutes, you showed more integrity and courage than he has in 2 years. It makes me question everything I thought was important. Their eyes met briefly before Kevin returned his attention to the road, unsure how to respond to the warmth in her gaze. After picking up Lily, who had been thoroughly spoiled with cookies by Mrs. Patel, they returned home. The evening settled into an unexpected domesticity as Kevin made up the sofa bed while Tara helped Lily find a spare toothbrush. By the time Lily was tucked in and read to sleep, it was nearly 10 o'clock. "You must be exhausted," Kevin said, returning to the living room where Tara sat with her legs tucked under her on the sofa bed. "Strangely, I feel more peaceful than I have in months," she replied, "even with all this chaos." Kevin settled into the armchair across from her. "What will you do tomorrow?" She stared at her hands. "I have some decisions to make. Richard controls so much of my life, or I've let him control it. Disentangling won't be simple." "But worth it," Kevin suggested. "Yes." Her eyes met his with new resolve. "Definitely worth it." They talked late into the night, the conversation flowing easily between them. Kevin told her about losing his contracting business during the recession, about Megan walking out, about his dreams of one day starting his own small construction company. Tara shared stories of growing up in a middle-class family in Oregon, of putting herself through college, of her passion for business strategy. By the time Kevin reluctantly said goodnight, something had shifted between them. Not romance, it was too soon, the circumstances too complicated, but a connection that neither had anticipated. Morning brought new complications. Kevin awoke to find Tara already up, looking ashen as she stared at her phone. "He's frozen all my accounts," she said without preamble. "Credit cards, bank accounts, everything." Kevin set a mug of coffee before her. "Can he do that legally?" "They're all joint accounts," she admitted. "I was stupid, so stupid." "Not stupid," Kevin corrected gently. "Trusting, there's a difference." Lily bounded into the kitchen in her school uniform, immediately sensing the tension. "Is everything okay?" "Just grown-up problems," Kevin assured her, dropping a kiss on her head. "Nothing for you to worry about. Cereal or toast this morning." As he got Lily ready for school, he watched Tara make several phone calls, her voice shifting from personal to professionally crisp. By the time he returned from dropping Lily off, Tara had transformed. She'd borrowed his laptop, showered, and pulled her hair back into a neat bun. She wore yesterday's clothes but somehow made them look freshly pressed. "I have a plan," she announced, "but I need to ask one more favor." "Name it," Kevin said, surprised by his own readiness to help. "I need a ride to an office downtown. After that, I promise I'll be out of your hair." The office turned out to be in one of San Francisco's most prestigious financial district buildings. Kevin felt distinctly out of place in his work clothes as he walked Tara to the entrance. "You really don't have to come up," she said. "I want to make sure you're safe," he insisted. After what happened yesterday, she smiled, something soft in her expression. "Okay." In the elevator, Tara pressed the button for the top floor. Kevin raised an eyebrow but said nothing. When the doors opened, they stepped into a sleek reception area bearing the logo Owens Global Strategies. The receptionist looked up, her eyes widening. "Miss Owens, we've been trying to reach you." Kevin froze, turning to look at Tara, Miss Owens, with new eyes. "It's a long story, Jennifer," Tara said. "Is the executive team available for an emergency meeting?" "Of course," the receptionist said, already reaching for her phone. Right away, Tara turned to Kevin, whose confusion must have been evident on his face. "I should have been honest with you from the start," she said quietly. "I'm not just in corporate consulting. I'm the CEO and founder of Owens Global Strategies. We provide strategic guidance to Fortune 500 companies." Kevin stared at her, processing this information. "You're a CEO, but Richard said he would destroy you professionally." "Because my biggest client is his father's company," Tara explained. "And 3 others came through Richard's connections. He threatened to pull all their business if I left him." Before Kevin could respond, several professionally dressed people emerged from a conference room, expressions of relief on their faces. "Tara, thank God," a woman in a sharp suit said. "When you didn't come in yesterday and weren't answering calls." "I'll explain everything," Tara assured her, But first, I'd like you to meet Kevin Young. She paused, looking at him with gratitude. He helped me when I needed it most. The next hour passed in a blur for Kevin. He sat in on a meeting where Tara, composed and authoritative, outlined what had happened with Richard and her plan going forward. She was a different person here, confident, strategic, commanding the respect of everyone in the room. Yet he could still see the woman who had chopped peppers in his kitchen and helped Lily with her spelling. When the meeting concluded, Tara walked him to the elevator. "I'm sorry I wasn't honest about who I am," she said. "You had your reasons," Kevin replied, still processing the revelation. "I just wish I'd known before you saw my sad little house." "Don't," Tara said firmly. "Your home has more warmth and love in it than Richard's mansion ever did. You've built something real there with Lily." Kevin nodded, unsure what to say. This woman ran a company from a skyscraper. "She lived in a different world. I should get going," he said finally. "I have a job site to check this afternoon." Tara looked like she wanted to say more but nodded. "Thank you again, Kevin, for everything." As the elevator doors closed between them, Kevin couldn't help feeling that their brief connection had come to its natural end. She would return to her world of board meetings and corporate strategy, and he would go back to struggling to make ends meet. It had been a strange interlude, nothing more. 2 weeks passed. Kevin threw himself into work, picking up extra shifts where he could. A colleague had mentioned a potential contract that might lead to steadier employment, and he was focused on securing it. Lily asked about Tara occasionally, but the questions had grown less frequent as days passed. Then, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Kevin returned to the construction site after a lunch break to find a sleek company car parked nearby. Tara stood beside it under an umbrella, looking both professional and somehow vulnerable. "What are you doing here?" he asked, genuinely surprised. "I wanted to see you," she said simply. "To talk if you have time." Kevin checked his watch. "I have 15 minutes before I need to be back." They sat in her car, the rain drumming on the roof, creating a private cocoon around them. "I left Richard for good," she started. "Legally and completely. My company has survived better than survived, actually. We've gained 3 new clients to replace the ones we lost." "I'm glad," Kevin said sincerely. "You deserve that success." "The thing is," Tara continued, "these past 2 weeks I've been thinking about what really matters. Success feels hollow when you have no one to share it with. When I was in your home, seeing how you are with Lily, experiencing the genuine warmth between you, it made me realize what I've been missing." Kevin's heart quickened despite his attempt to remain detached. "Tara, I'm not asking for anything," she said quickly. "I know our lives are very different, but I'd like to get to know you, the real you, not just the man who rescued me in a crisis. And I'd like you to know the real me, not just the CEO or Richard's ex." Kevin studied her face, searching for any hint of pity or charity. He found none, only genuine hope and a vulnerability that matched his own. "I have a lot of baggage," he warned. "An ex-wife who appears and disappears unpredictably, financial struggles, a daughter who has to come first always." "I have baggage too," Tara countered. "Trust issues. A demanding career, and I'm still healing from what happened with Richard." Kevin couldn't help but smile. "Quite a pair we'd make." "I think we already do," Tara said softly. The rain continued to fall around them as Kevin considered her words. In his experience, people like Tara didn't end up with people like him. But then again, nothing about their meeting had been conventional. "Lily's been asking about you," he admitted. "She says you make the best peanut butter sandwiches because you cut them diagonally." Tara laughed, the sound warming something in Kevin's chest. High praise from an 8-year-old. "The highest," Kevin agreed. "Maybe you could come for dinner again, just as friends, seeing where things go." "I'd like that," Tara said, her smile genuine. "Very much." 6 months later, Kevin stood in the kitchen of a new apartment larger than their previous home, with a bedroom for Lily decorated exactly as she wanted it, and a small office where he could work on plans for the contracting business he was finally starting. The move had been Tara's suggestion, but they split the rent proportionally to their incomes, an arrangement Kevin had insisted upon. Their relationship had developed slowly, mindful of Lily's feelings and their own healing processes. Tara still worked long hours, but she made time for dinner with them most nights. Kevin had met her executive team, just as she had met his construction colleagues. Two worlds merging, not without occasional awkwardness but with growing ease. "Dad, is Tara still coming for movie night?" Lily called from the living room where she was arranging pillows for their Friday tradition. "She texted she's running 10 minutes late," Kevin replied, sliding homemade pizza into the oven, a recipe they'd all perfected together over many weekends. When the doorbell rang, Lily raced to answer it. Kevin heard their voices, his daughter's excited chatter, and Tara's warm responses before they appeared in the kitchen doorway. Tara had come straight from work, still in her business attire, but she immediately slipped off her heels and hung her blazer on a kitchen chair, transforming from CEO to the woman who had become an essential part of their lives. "Something smells amazing," she said, coming to kiss him briefly. "Pizza's almost ready," Kevin replied. "Lily picked the movie tonight." "Let me guess," Tara said, turning to the girl with a knowing smile. "Something with superheroes?" Lily grinned. "How did you know?" "Because I'm secretly psychic," Tara teased, making Lily giggle. As they moved around the kitchen together, setting the table and preparing for their evening, Kevin marveled at how naturally Tara had fit into their lives. There had been adjustments on all sides, discussions about finances, about public appearances together that might affect her company's image, about Lily's occasional insecurities that Tara might leave them like her mother had, but they'd worked through each challenge together. Kevin had learned that Tara's business acumen came with a practical perspective that helped him finally launch his own company. Tara had discovered that Kevin's steady presence and unconditional support gave her the courage to reshape her corporation around more humane values. And Lily had blossomed with another caring adult in her life who never tried to replace her mother but offered her own unique form of love and guidance. Later that night, after Lily had fallen asleep during the second movie, Kevin and Tara sat together on the couch, her head resting on his shoulder. "I have something to tell you," Tara said quietly. Kevin looked down at her, suddenly concerned by her serious tone. "Everything okay?" she smiled, dispelling his worry. "More than okay. Remember that community center renovation project you bid on last month?" "The one that went to Hamilton Construction," Kevin said, still disappointed about losing the bid. "What about it?" "Hamilton pulled out yesterday. Budget issues. The community board called me this morning as a potential donor, not knowing about us. When they described the project, I realized it was yours." Kevin sat up straighter. "Are you saying—" "They're reopening the bidding," Tara confirmed, "and having seen your proposal, which was excellent, by the way, I think you have a real shot." Kevin processed this information. "You didn't influence anything?" "Absolutely not," Tara assured him firmly. "You know I wouldn't do that. This is all you, Kevin. Your hard work, your vision. I'm just the messenger." He pulled her closer, overwhelmed with gratitude not for the potential contract, but for having a partner who understood how important it was that he build his business on his own merits. "I love you," he said simply. "Not because of this news, just because you're you." "I love you too," Tara replied, her eyes shining in the dim light from the TV. "The man who stepped in when no one else would, who showed me what real strength looks like." As they sat together in the comfortable home they'd created, Kevin reflected on the strange path that had brought them here. From a chance encounter in a grocery store to building a life together, their journey had been anything but conventional. "What are you thinking about?" Tara asked, noticing his thoughtful expression. "Just that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places," Kevin replied. "Like finding love while escaping a toxic relationship," she suggested. "Like a struggling dad and a CEO discovering they have more in common than anyone would have thought possible," he countered, pulling her close for a kiss. Outside, rain began to fall much like the day they'd met, but inside their home, surrounded by the life they were building together, they were sheltered by something stronger than wealth or power. A love born of genuine respect, mutual support, and the courage to choose a different path when life presented the opportunity.